right, welcome back. This is Sokoni here on Morning Prime. And yesterday, KCB posted their financial, of course, report, and they are netting net profits, 37.46 billion shillings. That is according to the report there. Lender reports 8.3%, if my director may just pick it, and a drop in net profit to 37.46 billion shillings. KCB skips dividend payout for the first time in 21 years. And also, I think the biggest announcement was the deal to sell NBK to Nigeria's Access Bank, which right now has been confirmed. And just to read a snippet of what they're saying, that KCB shareholder will, for the first time in 21 years, miss out on dividends after bank reported an 8.3% decline in net profit to 37.46 billion shillings in year ended December 2023. We just want to look at that briefly and what is the way forward. NBK. First of all, let me see who has been affected here by the dividend dividend shares announcement. I know. I suspect one of you here. You've been affected.
Both ways, actually.
Both ways.
Because I'm a small shareholder in NBK and a small shareholder in KCB. Year in, year out, we look forward to the dividend. That this is not going to happen for the first time is not good news. We really need to figure out what went wrong, to what extent is proximity with government driving down performance of a company that has been doing very well. Usually, you use commercial banks, particularly tier 1 banks like KCB and all, to gauge the performance of any economy. So it's very unfortunate, Debal, for me on the one hand, that there will be no dividend payouts. Of course, sometimes it's in the interest of the company to reinvest. If that's what was happening, I would be happy. But we can see the bank is also divesting. NBK is going to Access Bank. Perhaps, like my good professor friend, I have no problem Access coming in. Access is probably one of the biggest banks in the continent, and for me, it's a welcome thing as a Pan-Africanist that wants to see trade and investments promoted. I'd equally encourage Kenyan banks. I know Equity has been doing a good thing, expanding, even KCB to an extent, and then CBA. Let's do business as long as there is value at both sides to Access as well as shareholders of KCB. I have no problem with the deal, as long as done right, above board.
All right, NBK, we thought when KCB was acquiring NBK, it was giving it a new lease of life, as it were, and we could see it really going down the tubes. It seems also that has not been successful with KCB acquiring NBK. I don't know, maybe. Patrick, are you by any chance in the board of NBK or any of these banks? I'm normally surprised. So Patrick is sitting in most of these boards. Yeah, could be. Maybe you can give us an insider view.
Right. No, I don't have any insider view on this.
And if he had, he would not give it.
You don't give it. He was preaching non-disclosure.
NDC. But I think last year, I think I said that the bank KCB was probably spreading itself a little bit too wide on a lot of issues that perhaps it should not have dealt in, some very, very big deals. And I said that time that the bank would actually struggle during the course of the year. And I don't know whether it is because of what I said it would, the indicators, but it is obviously now, it bought a struggling bank, and the idea was that it was going to put some capital injection, turn it around, and then as you normally do as a bank, you do that and then you spin it off, after some time. Now, NBK hasn't really turned around to be a star performer, as the case is. And then you're not paying out dividends, and you're spinning off something that was supposed to help you grow as a bank in terms of giving you more customers and everything else and so forth. I mean, all these indicators are not positive for a bank or for a key tier 1 bank of this nature. And I think the very fact of spinning off National Bank, I think for me is an indicator that the health of this organization really needs to be scrutinized before things may go wrong. I'm not a naysayer, I'm not a whatever it is, but I just have a concern from what we saw in terms of some of the big deals that the bank was getting involved in. So I think it really needs to shake itself up so that, you know, if it doesn't pay dividends after 21 years, being one of the ones that was doing that, and yet you're seeing that some of the other tier 1 banks are actually paying increased dividends in the course of the last 12 months, and they haven't been paying as well as you know, they have not been paying in some years, they haven't. But now they're actually showing increased dividends when one bank is going the other way. It just raises some questions for me. I'm not an expert in the banking sector, but I think just as an observer from the outside, it does raise some issues.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a
very interesting, not just a commercial or a national issue, but also a good academic exercise. Because the National Bank, despite being sold to KCB, does not seem to have succeeded in shedding off the image of a government bank. I also expected that once it was bought, it would be turned around, it would expand, it would become profitable. But what we find that it could not turn around, and the best thing to do was to sell it. I have two concerns. One of them is the buyer being bought by Access Bank of Nigeria, which happens to be, I think, Africa's biggest bank by the number of customers, about 50 million customers. Yes, their CEO died in this month, Herbert Wigwe, condolences to Nigerians. But if you remember also, Nigerians bought Transnational Bank. So people think Nigeria is a corrupt country, but they're also doing some things right. Like their financial sector is very vibrant. So the only reason why I'm saying that Nigeria should not have bought it is just patriotic. I believe that being a very indigenous Kenyan bank, NBK, we probably should have been bought by some Kenyans, and we turn it around and we make it as big as Access Bank. For disclosure, I own a few shares in some Kenyan banks. But the ones where I own shares, they are paying big dividends. I'm very happy. So I hope what is happening in National Bank does not portray what is happening in the whole banking sector. I hope that's an isolated case.
Right. Okay.
Before we leave the banking, I often tell my friends there are three sectors where one has got really to struggle hard to make a loss. For me, one of them is the banking. I could be right or wrong. The banking sector being one of them. The telecom, particularly mobile money sector, being another. So I normally like buying small shares in this bank. So I was happy. I'm looking forward to some dividends for Stanbic. But having said that, I think despite what's happening to KCB, the fundamentals are still so right for this bank, even though it has missed paying out dividends. I think I would still want to encourage Kenyans, both within and outside the country, to still look for buying shares in sectors that definitely will be there for the longest. It's not likely to collapse any day soon. So the fundamentals for banking sector is still very right. The economy seems to be on an upward trend. So slipping is not falling. So my encouragement is that the fundamentals for KCB are still very right, but they must reflect what went wrong and try and improve on it.
All right. Bunyasi Sakwa.
Thank you. I'm looking at this whole episode, KCB, National Bank, from a different perspective. I think it's an example of creative ways of managing things that Kenya has demonstrated. That when National Bank was going down and down, instead of putting it into the market and selling it for a song, as they say, it was negotiated quietly behind the scenes, and KCB took it over. Why KCB? KCB having significant shares in government, it was possible to use it as the share parent of this instrument to take National Bank, cool it down, improve its fundamentals. It's not by any chance near collapsing, but KCB played the role they expected to play, helped to stabilize it, and then spin it off back into the market. But now they are spinning it back into the market through another institution that is a stronger institution that can absorb. And despite the fact that that buying institution is not Kenyan, my view is that finally it safeguards Kenyan jobs, Kenyan depositors, and so on. So it is patriotic, so to say, to have moved quickly to get this new parent come in to take care of KCB. I mean, National Bank, I'm sorry. But the key thing is that because KCB is a government, largely government-owned institution, you'd expect that government do a lot of its transactions with them. Some of them would build it, and as has been the case over the years, many government institutions were banking with KCB. So they didn't have to go out of their way to attract deposits. They would get those from public institutions, certainly. But the price to pay for that also then is that you have to do the bidding that government might want, and sometimes you'll make money out of it, sometimes you may not. The fact that they haven't paid dividends is the clearest indicator. They have had some downward pressures on their profit lines, so they really can't afford to pay dividends now. But they have they have been paying dividends for a long time. And I think that in the order of things, 1 year will not make a huge difference, but we don't have a financial crisis in our banking sector, because KCB played a stabilizing role. They've been able to allow this young son of theirs to go back into marriage, despite the fact of having been once divorced. They're back again, perhaps with a big wedding again, and so on. That's not a bad achievement. Thank you.
Right, talking of weddings, I think also Unilever is trying to wed the maize milling sector as it is right now, where British multinational fast-moving consumer goods company, Unilever, if we may roll on, please. First British multinational fast-moving consumer goods company, Unilever PLC, is set to diversify its Kenyan operation into the maize refining business to shore up margins that are under pressure on the slowing detergent business in the East and West African region. Company plans to diversify into cornstarch production at an advanced stage, which is their plans are at an advanced stage, and discussions are ongoing to run the new business line through a joint venture with an undisclosed company. Cornstarch, an extract from maize grain, is a common food ingredient often used to thicken sauces or soups and to make corn syrup and other sugars. It is also a component of many cosmetics and oral pharmaceutical products. It has been used as a lubricant in surgical gloves, I should say, according to the company. Kenya produces a lot of maize. This cornstarch are not the type of things that we should be importing. So we need to work on this and also focus on localizing our raw materials in all aspects. Unilever currently offers a wide range of products in various categories, including beauty and wellness, personal care, home care, nutrition, and ice cream products. Right. Patrick, is it a smart move by Unilever?
Yeah, I think that headline is wrong. Maize milling is a completely different business from cornstarch.
Yes.
So Unilever is not going into the maize milling business. They want to source cornstarch locally. And it is a smart move. I mean, it's a good move. I think you remember we had a company that used to make cornstarch before. I think it was called CPC. Yeah, something like that. There was a mill in Eldoret that used to make cornstarch at least in the 80s. I remember there was that 80s and 90s, and it is a key ingredient in a lot of food, a lot of things. And if a company like Unilever thinks that there is an opportunity there, so be it. Even if maize, sometimes you cannot get. The maize may not be suitable for very good, high quality, food grade, but you could use the same thing to make commercial products from that point of view. So you could actually do it, and and the process of making cornstarch compared to maize, whatever it is slightly different. Yeah, because one uses you use chemicals, whatever it is, to extract the cornstarch out of it, and then it's a high pressure process as well. So yeah, I think. What it is, I think Unilever is showing is that they want to get involved in value addition locally, because currently, I think anybody using cornstarch must obviously import it in this country, And if it can be made locally, I think that is a lot more jobs, a lot more technology coming back into the country. And just going down the value chain, up the value chain with maize, I think would be a good idea. I don't know why, you shouldn't start. I think there's a university that is already doing, they're making tacos, the
Mexican.
Yeah, the Mexican stuff, yeah. There's a university in Kenya that is actually has got the technology now to make tacos in Kenya. All you have to do is to change our whatever it is, our palate, so we can start eating a lot more tacos, yeah, instead of ugali. But I think value addition for maize in this country is a lot overdue. I think, how many remember also the other company that used to be a Fafiro, yeah, Fafiro Kenya. They were not using the maize; they were using the what is it called, the husk, the thing that remains after you remove the maize. Yeah, they were taking that and then they were converting that also into
the cob, the maize cob.
Yeah, the cob. Yeah, the bit that is left after you remove after you extract the maize. They were using that to actually make other industrial chemicals as well. But somehow, as in a lot of state corporations, that one died as well when it was actually stuck in the right place in Eldoret, which is the grain basket of the country. So so Unilever, I think that's a good move. Let's begin to go up the value chain of maize. Yeah.
Well, there has been also, maybe let me just get your comments, then I can ask that question.
Yeah, I think I'm liking the discussion because maize we thought is always about ugari or ogederi. But our friend has convinced us that you can get high value added, very high value products from maize. And I think the people should be celebrating are not even us, but the farmers. Because if there's demand for maize, then farmers will probably grow more maize and possibly have higher prices.
So you have a reason to, because now they have been also diversifying away from maize.
But it's also very
going
good.
to avocado.
It's also very good news when you read the headlines, the number of companies that seem to be leaving the country. So in Unilever are saying instead of leaving the country because our margins are not very good, why don't we invest and get more returns? So, and finally, I'm really liking this type of innovation. So the same product we have every day,
right?
But people can extract more value from it, and that we want more companies to do what Unilever is doing.
Right.
Our team, we operate a small banana plant. Diaspora largely owned and operated in Kisii County, but the past month or two has announced a new product from banana biscuit, which seems to be quite. Our team did participate in an Indian-Kenyan export or supply support meeting that's taking place, that just ended in Nairobi. And it looks like, although the products, there were already about nearly 10 different products coming from a small farm employing about 50 young people in Kisii. Indeed, producing things like banana flour, now banana biscuit, which is the new kid on the block, but before was doing banana sanitizer, banana wine, banana jam, and so on and so forth, ladies' hair, and so on, coming out of it, innovation and diaspora investments coming in. In fact, to the extent that the Kisii county government was so impressed, they have a bigger banana plant, which we have now been contracted to operate and scale and manage. And we've just gotten a US strategic partner to expand on that. I think these are initiatives that the aspect of cottage industry and manufacturing, there is no way that we're going to turn the bend without promoting manufacturing, and particularly agro-processing and cottage industries. In this regard, in fact, maybe learning from India, one of our luminaries that we don't recognize much at home, Engineer Laban Nditi, formerly National Vice Chair of KNCC, was an advisor at some point to the current Indian Prime Minister Modi when he was governor of Gujarati state. You know, the cottage industry really is an area that I think, like many would agree around the table, government needs to focus attention to, give them all the support that's possible so that we can create sustainable jobs and support evolving MSMEs in the manufacturing sector.
Right. Okay, we want to also just move into...
And sorry, Debal, I should have added, we are actually working very closely with Kisii University in terms of research, new products, new outputs from just banana.
All right. Okay. Bunyasi Sako, I can see you have something.
Well, I can pass if you're pressed for time.
No.
But yes, I will say something very briefly. That in the maize sector, one of the things that is always a problem for us is whenever we have a bumper crop, prices collapse, immediate post-harvest, prices collapse completely. Farmers are worried whether they will get enough even to buy fertilizer for the following season. I know that we passed a law some years back, and we have a warehousing receipt system that would have saved us, but it has not grown to the scale that's needed, because it's only by having that kind of bumper crop level the chances of getting other industries spinning off maize can then be sustained. It can't be when maize is in short supply and you're competing with the food at the table or processing for something else. Then food at the table, if the prices are high, you'll always win out. But whenever these prices collapse, that's the opportunity that you can get for extractive processes from maize to do the kinds of things that Patrick has mentioned. Many byproducts from maize that you can have. And it should not be a curse each time we have a bumper harvest, but it completely overwhelms us. It's even movement from the producing areas to the deficit areas, just for the basic utilization of maize as a consumptive item around the table in its ground form, that's all. But the chances, to get many of the byproducts out of it can only come if we get sustained surpluses. So getting the warehousing receipt system may be one way in which farmers can always render their crop immediately after harvest at that cost, but while holding it at bay, over the season prices might go up and you can still get a little higher return. But the processors can buy immediately that the maize is produced, and they will then be managing the costs of storing and so on and so forth. So I just think that opportunities like this with the Unilever, coming in to want to get something out of it, and others probably doing the same, and other investors, I think it's just the way we should take our maize crop. The Trans Nzoia, which has been one of the major producers, has gone back to putting sugarcane on those very, very fertile soils. I find it a very sad story. Even by the most notable names, the people have become telephone farmers and they're growing sugarcane on it. They are grazing. We have to get Pokot herders back again to look after their cows. All the fencing and the paddocking that used to be on these farms is gone. It's quite sad, and it's partly because the returns are probably dropped. Because we are not being creative enough in sustaining the values of maize as a crop.
Right. On a lighter note, because Kenya has been ranked also to have now risen up to the ranks of the obese nations. And I wanted to come to Patrick Obak. There has been always a debate on the cornstarch and nutritive value of it, and also that exacerbating obesity. Would you want to contribute on that?
Cornstarch has got a lot more uses other than just as additives in food. As I think when you read the article,
yes, but
about,
for now they
talk about all the other areas that cornstarch is being used. Yeah, but yes, correct. The use of cornstarch as a filler for foods and stuff like that has created obesity amongst a whole host of other things. Food alone does not create obesity. It's also people who become a lot more, they don't exercise,
sedentary
lifestyles and what have you, and a lot of other food inputs that are not necessarily cornstarch, but it does contribute significantly, especially into sort of the processed foods that people are moving to now, rather than the natural foods that you can get. So a double-edged sword. But I think let's not put cornstarch as the big,
I said on a lighter note. On a lighter note, it's just good also for people to know.
On that debate, I'm a firm supporter of indigenous foods. I learned that maize isn't an indigenous food, but things like sorghum, wimbi, millet, cassava, and the other fibers, Kenyans need to consume more of them.
What do you mean it's not an indigenous
food?
What do you mean it's not?
I think it was something that was imported, probably from India or something. The older people.
Originally, maize is
Latina, South America or something.
like all crops, almost human crops from Mexico.
Okay, so
just like avocado.
right, but there are
Cassava
those,
also comes from there.
Yeah.
but there are these so-called indigenous foods that seem to be very nutritious. And I remember last year, Ministry of Agriculture had this event of indigenous foods for health and wealth, both for consumption as well as for export. It's an area, things organic, natural.
Thank you.
I always support.
Thank you. I want us to maybe turn the crack right now, because we had Bunyasi talking about extracting a process of a maize, and we get now to the extractive industry, where as base titanium prepares to exit the country, Kenya is looking for ways to boost its mining industry and attract new investors. The Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs announced that it is reforming the mining sector and lifting a 2019 ban on new mining licenses and on renewals. Now, through a statement issued in October, the ministry said that the ban has been lifted for all construction and industrial minerals, while strategic minerals will be handled on a case-by-case basis according to the Mining Strategic Minerals Regulations 2017. The end of the ban could open up new opportunities for exploration and production in the mining sector and help offset some of the losses caused by the base titanium's departure. But even as the ministry is seeking ways to tap the sector's potential and maximize its returns, concerns are being raised over the unprecedented workforce looming crisis as today's youth choose not to pursue careers in the area they see as being stagnant, hidebound, and out of touch with their values. Enrollment in universities programs that train mining experts is creating and is catering, and companies are struggling to attract new talent to replace their aging staff. The Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy recently announced that the precious coltan minerals, which is used in the manufacture of cells, phones, that is cell phones, I should say, laptops and other communications gadgets, has been found in the country. Mining and Blue Economy Cabinet Secretary, that is Salim Vuria, said that adequate deposits of coltan have been found in 6 counties. The rare metallic minerals, mostly found in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is DRC, is mainly used for the production of electronic goods of mass consumption, such as mobile phones, laptops, and video games. That is video games consoles. So what will be the ramification of this if, of course, we've had all this untapped potential underneath, but we lack the requisite technical experts to try and mine it? And this is where I want to just begin with you, Patrick Obath.
Coltan is actually a combination of several minerals in the load. It is columbite and tantalum, and tantalum is the key one for the electronics and stuff like that. Now, as you saw with the journey that base titanium had to production, which took almost 20-something odd years, from the time the first explorers came in and did the exploration, then you do resource identification, then you do the making sure that that you got sufficient quantities, etc., etc. The extractives area is not an area that you just wake up one day and you prod the ground and things happen. Look at the euphoria around oil in Kenya and where we are now, 14 years down the line. Yeah? And I said at that time that 2025 is the earliest that we are going to get oil in production, commercial production in this country. And 10 years ago, 2025, I'm wrong, because it is not going to happen by 2025. It's going to happen much later. So yes, we found coltan has been indicated, not that it is physically there, but there are indicators that that ore might be in that area. This was done by an aerial survey, the results of which have not all been given out to the country. Yeah, it is still being held somewhere in government, but they are just producing in small pieces. And coltan obviously is one that will evoke a lot of interest because of its link to electronics and the future of green energy and so forth. And Kenya is very much pushing for green energy. I would, like we did the euphoria with oil, I would do the same with coltan. We've got to go and find that there are commercial deposits, and finding the fact that there are commercial deposits will take about 3 to 4 years minimum, because you've got to go and find that there is an indicative ore, and once you found the indicative ore, you've then got to map out the extent of where that ore is, and then you've got to do your drilling, core sample drilling, to see how much there is of a resource. And once you've done that, then you can start thinking, is it worthwhile economically to be able to extract that? So you need rich veins of coltan in those areas for any investor to be even ready to come in. But as we all know, the extractives area is quite emotive in this country, right? Not only what we've seen happening in Turkana with oil, but look at what is happening in Western Kenya with gold, right? A company came in, they did all the gold exploration and did all the stuff that they needed to do. And then when they're applying for a license to move forward, all of a sudden the government says, no, we're going to do this ourselves. Now, these guys have put a lot of money on the ground to be able to find that we have got a very, very rich vein of gold in Kenya. And when you're ready to do that, all of a sudden you're told, guys, step aside, you're going to do it ourselves. And you had to borrow money to do that kind of work. So I think we must really set an example in the extractives sector in a way that we as a nation are going to treat investors coming in. And this idea of saying, you know, coltan, everybody's rushing there to is it Embu? Sure. Everybody's going there, they're going to do a thing what they call ground truthing. Yeah. They want to go and find out whether the thing is really there. The ground truthing, somebody going there now to sort of go to Embu and say, yeah, I've looked around and you can see coltan, it's not going to happen. You don't do it that way.
I think there's a member of parliament there who's advising people of Embu not to sell their lands right
exactly.
now.
Yeah. And they probably do that. The ground truthing is just, you know, you can't just walk there and go and say, yeah, there's coltan here. You've got to do a lot more thorough investigations to say that that is the case. So, yeah, I'm not a pessimist, but I just urge a lot of caution around this euphoria that might be starting up as a result of the announcement that was made by the ministry. Whilst I don't doubt their sincerity in terms of being excited about it, I think just like my good friend Kiraitu Murungi did with that famous bottle of crude oil, when they're announcing Kenya is now rich, we have got crude oil. Yeah, let's not do the same thing.
With the mining.
With the mining.
Okay, bearing the factors as well, we really have a lot of that sector being held by the artisanal small-scale miners. Without the requisite also wherewithal, at the end of the day, without proper policy that we have on the ground as well, looking at that particular policy of 2016 that needs a lot of tweaking, especially when it comes to the revenue sharing. Because there's a big debate since 2016 up to now. The counties have not been given their fair share of some of the minerals that have been extracted so far. Right? We can hear from
I think this is one of the big problem we have in this sector, that we don't have enough information. So as a potential investor in this sector, I would like as much information as possible. So,
but who will want to give you that information before they go and do the ground truthing and secure the place so that they can give you the information later?
That's not the problem, because mining is a
you have to be economical with it a bit.
Mining is a very capital-intensive industry. So for me to come and put my machines and put money to explore a mineral, I must be sure that it exists. Because I'm fearing that all this noise you are hearing about minerals might end up being hot air. Maybe some people want to raise the price of land or the price of raisins and so on. So let information be available in the open, so that as an investor in Kenya or wherever I am going to make my decisions based on truth. Number two, let's also identify these strategic minerals. You talk about coltan, you talk about tantalum, you talk about, but why don't we have a list? Why can't I get a map of Kenya telling me this is where oil is, this is where lithium is, this is where this is, so that when I'm going there, I have all the information. I am concerned about the strategic minerals, particularly lithium, because the future is in electric cars, and China and other countries control a lot of them. So let's also invest more money in exploration, so that not only do we talk about what is there, but what is potential there. Technology exists to do that. Finally, I'm concerned when you say that a lot of young men are not interested in careers in mining. I think one reason is because they don't know there's so much money there. They don't know there's so much potential there. But if they knew there was money, they would get there. If I told somebody I'm a miner, I don't think I would get as much attention as when I told them I'm a financial director. But if they realize there's money there, they're all troop there. Then we also need to have a very good framework on how to mine. Who gets royalties, who gets money, who gets all that. I think now it's not very clear. If we are not very careful, we should find our mining in the same territory as the so-called housing levy, with a lot of roadblocks and so on. So that makes everything clear. And then the sector should grow. It's a sector we have not exploited. It's a sector we have not exploited. There's so much money, so many minerals, but we're just talking about it. Let's get the money out of it.
Don't you think it sounds like we are talking about transitioning to renewable energies?
Right.
And a lot of these extractives that we are talking about, the lithium, the battery, should be the main focus, even as a country, that we've been putting ourselves as a poster child of advocating for, the climate
Action.
Climate action, yeah, that's the word I was looking, not a climate effects or climate change, climate action. Yeah. So I think there's the transition that they call it, the mineral just transition.
Right.
Just mineral transition.
The just mineral transition.
And responsible, also responsible extraction. The good news is that this is not hot air. The second is you recall, probably about a year ago when we were talking about mineral here.
It might become hot air.
Perhaps one of those very early times. It was very alien. I'm glad we've come of age. Not there yet fully, but there is progression. Thirdly, I was glad to see the announcement just this week that in Busia County, granite refinery, 2.5 billion shillings coming in investment in Kakamega County, and I'm glad. Last week we said all roads are leading to Kakamega County, where today I think the head of state is opening the Kakamega International Investment Conference. A 5 billion refinery, gold refinery. I think there's an investment the minister did announce coming in. So obviously these investments wouldn't come in without real potential being available. Rwanda already is advanced in putting up a gold refinery. I think this is really the way to go. Tanzania is a little better developed, in terms of mineral management. Often a joke is cracked in some of the circles I'm in that, while Kenyans were busy training our children, the professors training our children on dissecting grasshoppers, we left it to other countries, the Europeans, the Chinese and all, to come and do extraction in our country. By the same token, some of my colleagues believe strongly the resources to build our country and our continent are both underground, as in minerals, as well as overground, carbon credit and all. But today we are talking of the resources underground. I must say that one of our members, who until recently, diaspora members, was chair of the Mineral Mining Board, chair of Kenya-Australia Chamber of Commerce, has been in the O&G, oil and gas sector, in Australia for 20 plus years, and has repeatedly every December been telling diasporas, even as you invest in brick and mortar, in housing, in land, think of also the mining sector. We may not have sufficient time to talk about this, but I want to encourage colleagues, even our universities and institutions. I think currently it's only the university, Taita Taveta University, that's pretty advanced in training in mineral engineering. I think Egerton University, Nairobi University, my old alma mater has had geology and geostudies for the longest as I can remember. But I think we need to realize that we need to develop more capacity. Lastly, just to mention the BAL. In our homecoming convention, December every year, this December our focus is going to be on diaspora skills and knowledge for transformation, for resilience and growth. One of the major focus, and I'm glad that the Ministry of Labor and Skills Development is working on a strategy, developing skills for labor migration. I think there's a lot of diasporas who are working in the mining sector outside, in Australia, in Europe, in the US, and other countries that we need to tap their brains to develop our assets for our good. But I fully agree, caution needs to be there. It's not something that it's heavy investment, but yeah, I'm glad government is already paying attention to artisanal miners. I think it's the way to go, decriminalize and assist them to form into cooperatives.
Right. I can see we time is ticking away from us, and I'll be remiss if we don't also just flag one of the issues that will be affecting you.
Me to add a bit to this.
You've not contributed to this? I thought we went a full circle.
No.
Sure.
But sorry, I didn't want to take you back on this. I could have skipped it, but I had something to say on this. First, I think that the news that we hear around mining is good news. And the good news is has a feel-good effect. You begin to feel that in this country, we may be redeemed yet again by something else or other. That's one, and I think that's always positive news at a personal level, at a country level, whatever level. The second thing, though, is that Kenya is lucky that we didn't have this good news long time ago. We would have been been inclined towards mineral economy, which has major disadvantages on income distribution. Countries that have relied on minerals have had enclave success in these mining enclaves, with the rest of the people wallowing in poverty. I think we were lucky that we went into agriculture, livestock, which was largely general, and in the initial years it really uplifted the incomes of households in this country. The years of the 60s and the 70s and so on and so forth. But now we have gone to a point where we've been pushing the envelope quite a lot on basic agricultural production, and we are diversifying their growing incomes. So when the minerals come in, they will help to generate that macro level, macro size, and create surpluses that we might be able to use in further value addition in the economy, in job creation and so on. When the Kakamegas and so on have 5 billion investments, I don't know how much of that will have multiplier effects locally initially. Some of it will be simply assisting the exporters also. They grow their economies as they come to invest here, but we also will benefit from it, in addition to what others were doing. And I just hope that doesn't happen like it happened in Nigeria with the oil, in the southwest of Nigeria, where people abandoned agriculture, very profitable agriculture, and their lands went largely into oil drilling and so on, and had catastrophic environmental impacts, really catastrophic. So I hope that we will be able to maintain the sanity of what we have achieved, so that despite these developments, we have them regulated for the environmental and social grounds, but then we have the right incentives to support continuing agricultural activity, because it's dispersed, it has many households that it affects much better than the mineral extractions do.
Thank you, Bunyasi Seko. I think I'm learning a new word here, the ground truthing, right? The ground truthing, so in surveying all these minerals, we need the ground truthing. But we need ground truthing as far as also the Daily Nation is concerned, and Kenya Power. Looking at what we have as a story, will be remiss if I don't inform you on this, because Kenyans are being advised to update power and water meters by November the 24th. Kenya Power say that after the deadline, all meters will not accept new prepaid tokens. This is what we have in Phineas Marete, who is a Kenya Power, from Kenya Power, is saying that to ensure functioning of all the meters after this date, it is necessary to perform token identifier rollover by resetting the TID memory from 0. And this is where I want to ask Engineer Patrick Obath to just tell us, because they're saying millions of Kenyans rely on prepaid meters for electricity, and water will have to, it says, let me just try and put this, millions of Kenyans relying on prepaid meters for electricity and water will have to update their gadgets before November 24 this year, as the metering software that is currently in use by the utility firm is set to expire. The last time I checked, the prepaid tokens were actually installed by Kenya Power. Why is it being passed to Wananchi right now?
I find that strange, personally. That gadget belongs
To Kenya Power.
to the service provider, right? And it's the means by which they collect money from people, right? And my responsibility as a user is to buy my token and put it in there. Now, if that thing does not accept the token that I'm buying, because my only contract with Kenya Power is to buy the token and put it in that place, right? I pay for a service with the utility provider. And so if the meters are coming to the end of their life, yeah, it is their responsibility
Absolutely.
to upgrade whatever it is that needs to be upgraded. It's like for me and my mobile phone, I rely on getting a signal from the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that tower is where my phone is quote connected to. Now, if the software in the tower is not working,
So you go buy
am I
another
expected to go and contribute towards the cost of the tower? Yeah, mine is just to sort of, is put money on my phone and use it. Yeah, and the phone, if the phone goes wrong, I invested in the phone and I go and replace it, but I don't replace the thing that, that is supplying me. So I think it's disingenuous for not only for power but also for water, where they're talking about the water as well, that you have to replace as a consumer, replace the meter. That is the cost of the service provider, as far as I'm concerned. We have in my state, where I live, we also have, we have a water service provider in our state, and we upgraded all our meters from analog to digital. So all our meters in our state are actually now digital. But we did that, not the residents, it was the water service provider that actually upgraded the meters.
It was not you.
It was not the individual.
Right.
So this to me sounds like the Millennium Bank. You all remember when you are moving from 19 to 2000. Somebody says, by this date, if you don't do this. So I think when I was getting my power meter, water meter, nobody told me it's going to expire anytime. I should have been informed in advance that this is going to be there for 2-3 years.
Indeed.
And I prepare. You can't wake up one day and tell me that now, after this date, you not get water. You not get. That's not my business. When I look at my phone, I always get updates, software updates. Why can't they do the same with the meters and so on? Are they that advanced? So I think, in my opinion, there is something we are not being told about these meters. I hope somebody is not going to wake up and tell you, can you come up with a new meter? Or we are going to sell you a meter. But I think that's the responsibility of the service provider.
Can we inform this particular decision with what the courts had actually decided with the purchase of the new meters? So the court has given now the leeway. Now then we're being told, okay, by November, your meter will be expiring.
Now
And this
you
has
go.
been,
Now you go.
So you can see the interlinkages here.
We didn't want to go that route, but you brought it
Yeah,
up.
You knew.
Well, it's probably not
There's something in
only
the office. Yeah.
it's probably not only in power. I think even, to be fair, even KRA did upgrade from IFMIS to EFMIS.
Whatever it is, yeah.
And I think the point is our service providers need to be more innovative. Indeed, in other countries now they talk of power or energy, electricity
As a
as a
service.
service.
Yeah.
It all comes bundled. So if it's green energy, a provider comes and puts all the infrastructure and investment. All you agree on what payments you give back on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis. I think our providers are being idle. They're not being innovative enough, in my view.
Right. So I can see someone moving to the courts already. Someone is preparing. Now someone is piling up.
No doubt.
I suspect that I have a bad feeling about this, and I suspect rather that possibly somebody is already thinking of monopolizing the supply deal.
Yeah.
So they are letting people of the necessity to get the new meters, and some will have got them supplied, and they will be guaranteed to be sold to us. Our utility company hasn't been one of the most transparent. Remember when they had this transformers that were all faulty. And I don't know how many thousands of them were imported. And no action has been taken against that. We suffered a lot of losses as users and so on. As a member of parliament, we funded a number of transformers that were just faulty from the word go. And nobody was taken to task. I think I don't know, they said they probably got old ones or faulty ones and so on. And so here I suspect somebody is been organizing a deal now. I don't know how many millions of units they want to bring in. So they want to, alert us to be sure that we are buying those ones when they come. I think that's...
Again, it's fake meters.
Yes.
I hope they're not fake.
Oh, yeah.
Fake
You got it. I was just about to wind up with that, gentlemen. To give just 30 seconds for closing remarks.
I think, Dibal, for me, just looking at the subjects we discussed today, we are entering a silly season.
A silly season.
A silly season. There's a lot of things that are happening that really shouldn't really be happening at this point in time. But I think people are just getting a lot more creative given the opportunity, that season when things are happening.
Thank you.
And this addition of these meters into the fray just makes
it's
me
another
even more
silly season.
consistent. Another silly season thing.
All right. We just a one-liner as winding up. Okay, let's get Iraqi.
Yes,
A one-liner.
my colleague said that for us to develop, we need some key ingredients, minerals, farmland, and so on. But I think our greatest resource, if we have developed as a country, is our brains.
Fantastic.
Let's put them into use.
Our brains. Right.
Dibal is celebrating for the first time a diasporan qualified to go to the Olympics. She's in fencing, a lady in Dolo. Previously German Kenyan. I think she's won awards. I'm so delighted that diasporas are also joining that field.
Thank you.
And also accolades to our athletes in Accra that have brought us medals.
Thank you. Bunyasi Sako.
Mine is simple to say that we should use our democratic rights to be supportive and selective and supportive to initiatives that are new but are going to be important for our country. I think it's a good process. It forces transparency. Let us use it selectively.
Right, gentlemen, always a treat hearing from you and your contribution on Thursdays. Very insightful. I really do appreciate it after issues that we've talked today, and we hope also the policymakers, decision makers are listening. Kenya Power, we are looking out. Our eyes are bugging out like this, waiting for us to be asked to buy these particular token meters. So we know this is a country of thievery, fakery, as they say. A deception and deceit, but we pray that at the end of the day we'll see